the Wisconsin Badgers, and Coach Mick Byrne mic'd up there earlier this season. We're actually joined in the booth with a alum of the program and team champs back in 2011, Mo Ahmed. Yeah. Mo, you were saying you saw that video and it just was bringing back memories of Mick yelling at you, I assume.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hearing that accent, that terrible New York, Irish accent. So, it definitely brought some memories. So.
Cool. Well, we're getting ready for the men's race. After seeing an unbelievable women's race where Colorado won the individual and team title first time. They've done that in 18 years, and not a feat many teams often accomplish. So congrats to Danny Jones for the individual title, Coach Wetmore, and all the ladies out there dominating. We saw Joe Franklin after the race. He was super excited with the team's performance, said he scored it a bunch of different ways where they'd be around 100 and still potentially win. They scored 100, but Colorado just too much today. But as we look ahead to the men's race, another great race shaping up, and we'll first look at the individuals. Grant Fisher, a guy who didn't make the move last year to go with the leaders and has been thinking about that for the last 365 days. He wants to win that title. Last race for Stanford in cross country. And Morgan McDonald, also at his home course here. Mo, he's definitely a favorite in front of the NAU guys right now. He's got to hold them off.
Yeah, he definitely has to. And in order for the team to do really well, he needs to show up. Grant Fisher, incredible high school career. He was a phenom. He's essentially the anointed one. He won an outdoor 5,000 meter as a sophomore, and last year was held back. And I think he's a senior, so this is his last chance as well. So this is a clash of the Titans, and this is going to be an exciting one. 4 seniors going out head to head. Very exciting.
They're going to be a very good one. Edwin Kurgat from Iowa State in there. He was in Tennessee Martinsville, I think last year.
Yeah.
He was All-American. But Gordon, when we look 6 through 10, some other good names in there that could be up in that top 5 potentially.
Yeah, everyone's thinking NAU, Baxter's, McDonald's, Fishers, but you got to look at the right side of your screen. You got James Segura, who come in as a sophomore. He actually might be a redshirt freshman now of Eastern Kentucky from Rwanda. Or he has run a 13:46 5K prior to coming over to the States, so he has some speed. Nick Hogger, representing the Portland Pilots, a sleeper team. He's running well. And then Peter Sufer, he's the one guy here without a team with him. Virginia Tech, he qualified as an individual. Peter Sufer should be interesting to see. The junior, Aaron Templeton, also an individual. Look out. And then Connor McMillan trying to crack that top 10 for the BYU Cougars.
Most of these men out here trying to lead a team to some big results. So as we look at the teams, the top 6 here, NAU trying to win their 3rd consecutive title and cement their name there in the record books. It's been since the Arkansas men from 98 to 2000 that have gone 3 in a row. So can they do it? BYU wants to come back after a disappointing 3rd last year to prove them wrong. The Pilots from Portland there, they were 2nd a year ago. They're still in the hunt for a podium spot. Stanford, Wisconsin, who didn't qualify for this meet, Mo, Iowa State, but Wisco at home. Big crowd. We talked to a few people after that race. They said the crowd is unbelievable today.
That's
got to
awesome.
help Wisconsin.
That's awesome. It's Madison and this area is a very active environment, and a lot of people run and bike, and so people were big on this, and I think they promoted it really well. So it's good to see a good turnout out there, and it's going to be a great team and individual titles, and the fact that. The team titles is dependent on the individuals doing really well. It's gonna create a really good matchup. I think you always have to, when you're a favorite to win a title, you have to toe a fine line and sometimes be conservative to a certain extent. But I think in this situation they're gonna go for it, and Baxter and Day and. All those guys.
Cool. And going for it, that's what they're doing right now. This race is off. The 2018 Men's NCAA Division I Cross Country Championship is underway. That white carpet of snow, a little less than it was for the women's race now that we've had a few folks running over this course. 250-plus men out there trying to produce some big results for their teams, for their schools. And, you know, Mo in the booth with us, along with Gordon. We also joined again with Abby Cooper, formerly Abby DiAgostino, for those that don't know. You know, Abby, we just saw that great women's race. What are you excited most about in this men's race?
I'm excited to see what NAU does here. You know, it sounds like Matt Baxter was saying in the press conference yesterday that that we're in for maybe a surprise about how, you know, tactically they present themselves. So we'll find out shortly how that unfolds.
So definitely excited. Look like the crowds out there today. Great course for these spectators as tons of people are out, and as Mo mentioned, a lot relatively local to the area. The history is rich in cross country. Wisconsin, they mentioned earlier today here at the course, over 50 times the Badgers have been at this championship event. And up front, you see right in the middle, Morgan McDonald not leaving it to chance, that's for sure, putting himself in position. You have Colorado up there. And hey, looks like Mr. Day and Mr. Baxter, maybe even Mr. Lamong of NAU, Gordon.
Yes, so Day, Baxter up there. McDonald, though, looks like he wants to control this race away because he knows what Day and Baxter do. He's seen them do it twice in a row, the past 2 championships, and now he wants to make sure he can outsmart their tactics here on his home course.
You know, the women's race went out a little conservative when you compare it to what the women ran at this course the previous 2 times earlier in the season. And, you know, Abby, we saw that left the door open for Danny Jones to take down the favorite there, Wayne Colati. So conservative start here in the men's race. Maybe
yeah,
same.
Par for the course for the men. You know, it just I've watched so many track and cross country races where they're just out for a jog until it really starts. So yeah, you know, the women don't do that quite as often. So it was interesting to see how that mixed things up a little bit today.
You see the course map there as they're going down that long straightaway through the first half mile into that curve. And Mo, any parts of this course you particularly remember from workouts or racing that you know are key points for you?
Definitely the hills at 2K. They're going to start climbing up. There is a little bit of a climb at K and a little bit of a downhill as well. So at that point, if you didn't really have a good start, that's where you probably should be trying to make moves. The course opens up a little bit, and at 2K, you know, that hill, you better be in good contention, and I think people are going to start pushing it. And there's multiple hills, so that's going to take an effect.
So up front, Tyler Day, Matt Baxter. Some light jabs thrown yesterday when we were talking about the home field advantage for Wisconsin. Matt Baxter, I'd say in a friendly way, said, you know, I think Wisconsin's going to need that.
Oh, man.
So
confidence. I love it. It's good. It's, you know, that's the thing. Like, I think NAU comes off as very confident and a bunch. And, you know, for, you know, Morgan and Grant Fishers and the teams with BYU, Wisconsin, Stanford, you know, and Portland, well, you know, if they don't like those guys talking smack, you know, you gotta put a lid on that. So you gotta shut them up. That's the only way.
You see the past champions,
Yeah.
Edward Cheserek's name on there 3 times. Pat Tiernan dethroned him that 4th year, and then Justin Knight last year. Cheserek out there today watching this race. He worked out on the course yesterday. We got to see him out there. But the Colorado women, we just saw them run an unbelievable run. And 2 of their guys, it looks like Dressel and Klecker up front there for the Buffalo. They're trying to maybe show some magic here in the men's race.
Yeah, I think that's actually Ryan Forsyth, actually, and Dressel up there. So they actually have 3 Buffaloes in that front group of 10. So getting some inspiration from the ladies team taking that win and putting themselves in position, putting 3 in the top 10, just like NAU putting their 3 in the top 10. So
Yeah.
Colorado off to a good start early.
Yeah, man, I mean, seeing the women, you know, Colorado women come out here and perform, sometimes, you know, outperform their expectations. And, you know, you see the Buffaloes out front early. And, you know, the only thing I can think of is, you know, they've won a lot of titles in these sort of conditions, in the mush and the mess. So they love it, and it's good to see them, you know, bring it. So, yeah.
So you're in that back wooded area coming down that slight downhill, and you're going to be coming into the 2K mark in not too long. So we have, looking back at the results from earlier this year at the Nuttycombe Invitational, late September, Morgan McDonald won that race in 23:17, first 2K, and again, that was an 8K course, but first 2K, just as a comparison, 5:53, and that was the fastest 8K that anyone had run this year at this Wisconsin course. So we'll keep that in mind. 5:53. So these guys are, I'd say, going out at a pretty solid pace as we go through 2K and we start seeing some splits here. And it looks like unofficially Northern Arizona in the #1 spot, 72 points. So 46 points ahead of Portland now, who's in #2, 118. Colorado men are in third, 129. Stanford men fourth, 149. Washington men with new coach Andy Powell in fifth and 160. BYU 185. So, and then back in seventh is Wisconsin 289. So a little bit of a gap for Wisconsin there. But man, Gordon, that's a tight battle right now. Really between 2 through 6.
Yeah, and you look at NAU, they have their top 6 all in the top 32, which is what they need, because you want to have 6 chambers in the gun. You don't want to just only be having a strong 5. It's good to have a strong 6, and that's what NAU has. But Portland also is looking good. They have their top 5 all in the top 43. So Portland's keeping their guys in the mix early. You want to have your whole team in that top 50 at the 2K mark to make sure you're still in good position heading into the middle part of the race.
So a little surge being made there out front. And we'll get a read on who that is here in a moment. But again, Colorado is sitting pretty good for the men's side. It looks like Connor Mance of BYU up there. And Mance, a young guy on the BYU team, but his coach said he's got one gear, high gear, and I don't like to tell him to change it because that's where he derives his passion from in racing. So
he did this exact same thing at pre-nationals. He went for it, and everyone was like, "Man, say, what are you doing?" But he was able to hold on and still finish in the top 5. So maybe you say, "Hey, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it." So Connor Mance going to the lead.
Abby Mo, when you see a move, this is a 10K. We're not even 10 minutes in. What do you think about moves like this?
You can't really take it too serious just because of how early it is, but you got to keep an eye on it. And I think all the favorites are already in good position, and they're keeping an eye on it. And if that gap gets bigger, they'll definitely bridge the gap. So yeah.
Yeah, it really it depends on who it is. You got to know if your skill set lies in just having that consistent strength, and you can withstand that pace, over the course of several K, then that's fine. But if it's sort of a no-name, maybe a younger runner who just got a little bit excited, obviously you exact some more caution there.
Right. So Connor Mance, we know his name. He's I'd say top 20, 25 ranked coming into this. But I think the biggest thing that just did right there is it strung out the field a little bit. It kind of lightened up the pack there, and may be helpful for some of the teams as they start working their 3, 4, 5 runners actually up through the field here. As you see, we're going back into our second loop of this 10K course.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where the team standings stack up at 4K. As we talked, Mo, you said this, it's all about positioning at 5K to really know where you are in that team battle. And 4.1K is going to be the closest marker we can get to see where they are at the halfway point. But it'll be interesting who the cream of the crop are at the 4K mark.
I do want to point out, we haven't mentioned him yet, but Grant Fisher sitting in about 8th place, about 3-4 spots just ahead of Morgan McDonald. And it was kind of a great anecdote there in the press conference how Morgan McDonald and Grant Fisher have not raced for 2 years, and it was at this meet 2 years ago where they actually ran together for a good portion of it, and Morgan McDonald kind of towed Grant Fisher along. Grant Fisher ended up out kicking him, finishing 5th. McDonald was in 7th, so they have some some experience racing against and with each other. So as you see, our past team champions, 2 from NAU leading up front and showing a big reason why they were the past 2 champions here in 2017, 2016. You had that great Syracuse team, and then Colorado, the back-to-back years in 13 and 14. So, whoa, you just saw
Getting
the
serious.
shirt or hat getting thrown off there. That was Connor Mance there, huh?
It's all business. I do notice, I mean, obviously Mance, the redshirt freshman, leading the charge, but I do see Isai Rodriguez and George Cush, 2 of the freshmen who are keeping an eye out, and these freshmen are going for it, putting themselves in that top-tier group early on in the race. Isai Rodriguez from Oklahoma State, redshirt freshman, and George Cush from South Africa, from Nebraska. He's been training in Nebraska, so I'm sure he's used to this weather here, nice and a little cold in the Midwest.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, with the NAU boys out front, move is expected pretty soon out here. So most of the favorites better be getting ready for that.
So we had at that, we're going to come up on 4K pretty soon. You see the map going back through that wooded area, and they'll hit a little downhill as they come out of it. But NAU had 6 in the top 32. Luis Rivalva was their 6th runner at that time. Ryan Raff, their 7th a ways back. But so 6 All-Americans in position at 2K. We saw New Mexico on the women's side had 3 in the top 10. You say, how do you beat that? Well, Colorado had 6 in the top 30. So that shows you how important that tight pack is, and also obviously having that low stick up front. And Danny Jones was that for the Buffalo. So,
man, I'm itching to find out what this 4K split is. I see they're about to cross that path momentarily here. They're hitting the blue split timer. This is going to be 4.1K split, but the team standings are going to shake up here after we see where they are at the 4.1K.
So the pace slowed up just a slight bit as they come through in about 12 minutes over 4K. And unofficially, Northern Arizona still in the lead. As you see, there's the splits at 4K with Mance right at 12 minutes, along with a number of runners. Look at that. You see 12:02 all back to 16th place. So still a tight pack in that top 25. But NAU unofficially at 52 points to Portland's 122. So that lead for NAU continues to grow as they still have 6 in the top 31 and 4 or 5 in the top 20. So right now looking very strong. There you go. 50 points NAU, 122 for Portland. BYU has moved up 3 spots. They're at 149. Stanford has stuck at that 4th position. Colorado's now dropped back to 5th. Washington 6th, Iowa State 7, Wisconsin in 8th. And rounding out the top 10, Notre Dame in 9 and Colorado State. So, Gordon, NAU, I mean, is there any chance to make that up? I mean, Portland's actually in pretty good position. They have 6 in the top 60 right now.
Yeah, and if you look at Portland, right now their places are 22, 23, 24, 36, 43, and it's a 6-second gap between them. We know what NAU's going to do, but if you look at NAU's 4-5, NAU's 4-5 right now are 12:02 and 12:02. So NAU's 4-5 are basically where Portland's 1-2-3 are, and I think if Portland can move up and expect NAU to drop a bit, I mean, it is a 100-point lead right now, but that can cut in half very quickly in the final 3K. But right now, NAU, where we thought they would be, in control with a heavy lead going into the halfway point.
And, that last split between the top 6 runners for NAU, it was only less than 4 seconds, and that was through the top 31 runners in this race. You see now that's dwindled down, that lead pack, to about 15, 16, 17, and now a gap starting to form. So, guys, is this where we see the contenders in this pack at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to throw it back to Mo and say, when does this start to be shaken a little bit?
I think 6, 7K, and 8K is where the biggest move is made. I think right now they're just gearing up for, that point of up to 8K. So right now, small jabs are being taken at each other, and they're just being
Those are literal
patient.
or figurative?
Maybe
both.
Maybe both, yeah. So yeah, I think it's, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
There is a lot of NAU still in your picture up front. I can see pretty much that top 5 top 6 all still right there. So NAU, it's going to be tough to beat them. It'll be really, really interesting to see how Portland has moved by 6K, because they're in great position. But man, it's really going to be tough to take down these NAU guys. And it's so rare to find a team that has the low sticks up front, and those low sticks are actually most of the team. So.
Hey, everyone's like, oh, we have 1 or 2 low sticks, we have a chance.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you have a chance when you have 6.
Remember some Stanford teams back in the early 2000s with Hall and Dobson and those guys, very similar. It's just so tough to beat, as it's Colorado, NAU leading the way, Eastern Kentucky in there. Stanford's got 2.
See BYU there in the back of that front group.
Seeing a lot of neon come through. Something we didn't see in the women's race. Neon hats.
The flare out there,
Trying to make a statement.
Trying to stay warm.
Known, yeah.
As you can see, the guys coming back down around where the buses are.
So this is when they actually run parallel with the start line, but they're going to be running basically behind our booth. And so this is a long uphill. Mo, what was your experience running up this back part of the course, up this back hill?
Yeah, I think still here, this hill is gonna take a little bit out of you, but you just have to just dig in, grind a little bit, and get to the bottom of it, or get to the top of it, and there'll be pretty much a straightaway right there. So, yeah, I don't think it's a super hard hill, but it's a little bit of a gut puncher. So.
Some good running right now from, you got Eastern Kentucky and Virginia Tech. That's Peter Sufer from Virginia Tech and James Segura from Eastern Kentucky. I know our man Kevin Sully is big on Segura. He said watch out for him. So definitely showing that Sully knows his stuff right now, as Mance is still up front now for BYU. He was, it looked like he kind of took a little breather for a second. Now back at the front of that pack, leading the Cougars.
You gotta like what Joe Klecker's doing. You know, we did not expect to see all these Buffaloes up front, but Klecker, he's run 13:30. He redshirted the outdoor season last year, and he is a gamer. He was supposed to finish in the top 20 last year, had a bad race, finished in the 60s, but he is a top 10 competitor, and he's put himself in the mix here at the 6K point.
Yeah, and you see 6K coming through 17:34. Klecker was the first to cross that line with Tyler Day, and so Day leading for Northern Arizona. Gravalva has moved up from their 6th guy to their 2nd guy, and Baxter now just about 2 seconds back from Day. So a little bit of gap there forming, and you see actually Baxter in the back of that field. So not even that he's relaxed behind Day. He's actually starting to fade a little bit, so we'll keep an eye on that. So 62 points unofficially for Northern Arizona. Portland at 133. So similar gap to what we saw last time, 71 points separate them. But moving up big right now is BYU, who's tied with Portland in that number 2 spot. So they have all 7 guys in the top 65, and their top 5, 3rd through 48th right now.
Oh, we got a fall.
Whoa.
Oh, that's a coach, I believe.
Oh, that was so.
Jeez, that was.
So Connor Mance leading BYU in the 3rd position at that 6K split, and then back to Rory Linkletter in 31st, right there with Connor McMillan. So they're going to obviously need to move up there for BYU, and then 4th right now on that podium spot, Stanford. Just about 24 points in front of Colorado, 154 to 178.
Now, I know you said we got to talk about this Baxter falling off this front group. I was thinking Baxter and Day would be side by side at this entire race, but the fact that he's fallen off this front group is a big sign for NAU.
Yeah.
Baxter was my pick. Man, I'm falling apart right now.
You know, Mo, you got to ask, you know, with most of the team for NAU up there, they know Baxter's fallen off. What do you think they're thinking right now, and how much more important is it for them to hold where they're at?
Yeah, they have to hold it together. You know, you see Colorado has 2 up in that pack. Connor Mance is pushing. So BYU looks like they're employing a little bit of a, you know, the NAU tactics in this. So you have to finish as high as you can, and I'm sure their coaches are out there like telling them, you know, something happened with Baxter. Hopefully nothing too serious, and he can hold it together for his team. But you know, those guys who are in the pack, you know, the Day and I'm not even sure where Peter Lamong is, but all those guys need to hold their position and move up in the latter stages of this race.
Yeah, Peter Lamong right now sitting in 22nd, the 5th man for NAU. So they go 1, 16, 17, 19, 22.
And that was 3 minutes ago now, so things have changed.
Yep, so things have changed up just a little bit. So, but Morgan McDonald for Wisconsin, one of the favorites individually, is still there. And just to his shoulder is Grant Fisher. And a lot of folks have talked about those two being the ones really going after this individual title. They were both of them were undefeated all season until they went to the regionals, where they ran some conservative races to qualify here to the championship. So that is definitely a battle a lot of folks are looking forward to. Myself personally, that last 300 meters up that hill, Mo, I'm looking to see what happens. We saw a great one on that women's side.
Yeah, no, that I tell you that finishing straight is a peculiar one because you got to go up a hill. So it's very interesting to see what will develop.
I like Isai Rodriguez, the freshman from Oklahoma State.
Rodriguez, yeah.
The fact that he's still in this 21 minutes into the race, he's a gamer. Again, redshirt freshman. Took second to Edwin Kurgat multiple times, not only in the outdoor track, but Big 12 Cross.
Absolutely.
And he's put himself in there.
Absolutely, yeah. Dave Smith, you know, one of the best coaches in the NCAAs, and they definitely had a dynasty there for a few years, and they're looking to rebuild. It looks like with Isa, they're looking to be back competing here for a national title in a few years. So it's good to see the young fella fight out there.
So we're going to be coming up to the 8K point in not too long, and if we think back to what you said a few moments ago, Mo, that final 2K is really the make or break of this race, where moves are going to start being made, and if anything's going to change in the team in that team race, that's where we're going to see it.
Yep, yeah. This is the biggest determinant of the whole race. People who are in that front pack who are feeling it, they might pay for it, and this is, where the sweepers, Peter Lamong, what does he do? I know we said he was in 20-something. Oliver Orr, what does he do for his team? Looks like Wisconsin is, their third, fourth guys are struggling a little bit. But, this is where everything gets decided.
So you saw there a little bit of gaps forming for NAU. And, Gordon, I don't know if you noticed where Portland was in that.
Yeah, the Portland kit's a little different kit for this meet, but I did see a few Portland guys moving up. Manu Levesse, the Frenchman who was top 15 last year, has been moving up. But when these 8K splits come in, we're really going to know if NAU had built a big enough lead to survive a falling back in the latter part of the race, or will a team like Portland or BYU be able to catch them in the final 2K.
Well, and I got to think that the BYU guys that were around 30th are starting to see the NAU guys that are in about 22nd and saying, wow, there they are.
That's the finish line.
We got to get them.
Finish line is NAU.
We got to get them. So here we go. We're crossing over the splits here. We're going to get him here in just a moment as McDonald asserting himself up front next to Klecker. Mantz still there. You saw a grimace in his face in that last close-up shot we saw. But Fisher, a guy that hasn't put himself up front yet. He's been sitting there comfortably. I think he's doing a great job right now of being very patient and waiting to cover a move if it's made here in this final 2K.
So right now we have NAU unofficially 66 points, BYU 117. Now Portland has fallen back to 146. So still a good lead. 60 points is still a lot for NAU to hold on to.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, NAU had a 70-point lead. That lead is now dropped to 51 points. So BYU is moving up. I mentioned their guys their second, third, fourth were in the top 30, 35. Now they're 24, 27, 32. So I think Rory Linkletter playing it well here and trying to move up in these later stages. And there you see unofficial scores. But, man, this pack is broken away, and our individual champ is going to come from this group of men here. Mantz, McDonald, Day, you have Klecker, the freshman from Oklahoma State, looks like Fisher.
You got a lot of kickers in there. Kurgat's a great kicker. Alpha Chilenga's in there. He's a grinder from Alabama, staying in that top front group.
Connor Matz just staying.
He's just been a force.
He's been a force. He's all out, it seems like, the whole race, and he's not giving up that lead. So,
Colorado's doing a great job. They have 3 in this top group, guys. Man.
Kurgat in there, Chalenga. Man, this is the who's who of cross country in 2018. They're all in it with the exception of really Baxter. A lot of these guys, some of the favorites we talked about throughout the week and earlier today, and McDonald trying to be the guy to make this tough over the later stages. You see Day there comfortably on his shoulder, just in front of Kurgat, and Mance just fighting there to stay with this group. I love it.
Absolutely, and we saw the 8K split there, 23:30. That's not a slow time, considering all these, the condition of the course, and I'm sure they're feeling it out there in singlet, and it's cold out there. So we're gonna see an exciting last 2K, and we'll see how hard they push.
Oh, I gotta ask, what is Morgan McDonald's strength in this race? I gotta imagine you've talked to the Wisco camp. Where do they feel he's strongest in the late stages?
I don't think he really has a weak link in his toolbox. I think he's a strong runner, good 5K. He's a 355 or 56 miler. He has the kick. He has the strength. He knows the course really well. And he's gonna, I think, mentally, there's a lot of good athletes in this bunch of pack, but I think his expertise of the course should really pay dividends for him. And everything, he's a stud. He's definitely a stud. So, and he wants it. He really wants it.
So he was leading there for a moment. Mance now back in the lead, and man, Abby, this guy, he wants to stay up there. I love it.
You can see that fight. You can see he is starting to labor a little bit. Use some energy laterally with his arms, but it also shows the wanting there, and that's what you need.
And I see Baxter there, and that far back is, he was falling off, but if he can stay between these two packs there, that'll be great for them, because again, they have a 50-point lead. So if Baxter can hold off this charge of people behind him, that'll be good for NAU. But
in the distance there, you see in the headband Linkletter, and behind him, about 5 spots behind him, 2 of his teammates. So they're trying to move up. They see where they need to be. They see Baxter fading, and they're trying to make up ground. But up front, we are at 27:30, so not a lot of time left, less than 3 minutes of running here. And this is where the final K, it's all going to come down. The freshman from Oklahoma State in here, Furman in the mix. I love this.
See the Colorado guys starting to fade back a little bit there.
Aaron Templeton of Furman to the lead.
Watch out. So McDonald there, he was up front there for a moment. Now it looks like he's testing the field a little bit, letting these guys lead, and he's just going to stay in position. Fisher has not moved within that top 5 at all today. He's letting everyone lead the pace, make the moves, and he is just waiting for that final straightaway.
I would say Fisher, McDonald, Kurgat, even the freshman, Isai Rodriguez, all look very calm in their face. So they're still just waiting to the final 200, 250 meters.
And we're going to make that turn here. You saw Baxter there. And these are their pack behind him, where we saw Linkletter and those boys. There's Oliver Hoare. There's Linkletter right there. Gravalva for NAU. And here we go, the final straightaway. Morgan McDonald. And it looks like Grant Fisher trying to go, and that's Kurgat with them. So McDonald, the crowd is so loud here in Madison. It's Morgan McDonald trying to win in front of a home crowd. Kurgat trying to take him down. Fisher trying to win his first title. Will Morgan McDonald hold on to it for Wisconsin? Here they come to the finish line. Fisher pushing him. But here comes Morgan McDonald. He in the lead. He looks like he's going to hold on to it and win his first title at home. McDonald taking the NCAA title. Kurgat in second. Maybe it was Fisher. And Robinson for Oklahoma State. Furman's Templeton. Day for NAU. What a race. Colorado puts 2, look, maybe even 3.
They put 3 in the top 11 for Colorado.
11. Wow, and here you go, Chalenga, and watch the finishers come in. Where are the NAU boys?
So
Stanford.
NAU went 6. Here's Matt Baxter there coming in at 15th.
So that's their second.
So NAU got 2. Colorado still has 3, but their 4-5 are way back.
Watch out for BYU coming in now. There's Linkletter. Portland's got 2 in. Here comes another from BYU and another from Portland. NAU's Gravalva is in. Now NAU's got Lamong and another.
So NAU's got Lamong and Farrell. NAU looks close right now. It's going to be close, though. I think NAU might take it.
BYU, Portland. There's more of them coming in. Colorado's got another. Boise State's got a few coming in.
All right, they're all in. Now we're just – so NAU puts their top 5 in the top 30.
Where is BYU? Where's Portland? And there you go. There's the times for the individuals. You see them. Morgan McDonald, half a second over Grant Fisher. A lot of folks thought Grant Fisher would be the guy to kick if it came down to it and win. But McDonald, with the crowd behind him, NAU now, as we look to the team, it looks like it's still unofficial, but it looks like it might be enough for NAU to secure the title. 37 points.
So
on
they have 83 points is what they're going to have eventually. But I think NAU has defended the title and pulled off the three-peat here unofficially.
BYU, it looks like they might have came up for second, maybe within 30 or 40 points of NAU, but it will not be enough as we wait, as more of these finishers come in. Exciting race up front as we wait for the final team scores. But while we wait for these team scores to shape up, we're going to talk with our winner from Wisconsin, Morgan McDonald, who's standing at the finish line with Kevin Sully.
Morgan, that last straightaway was 2 years in the making. Walk me through it.
It hurt really bad, but I knew that in my head I was thinking I've done this so many times. Every session we're finishing by doing this straight. So I was scared with all the guys around me, but I knew that I had a pretty good shot because I have a pretty good kick, so I just went for it.
Did you feel Grant and Edwin on your shoulder at all?
I knew Grant was there the whole time. He's a very savvy, smart racer, and I saw Kogat was there as well. I knew he was going to be a big danger man. So I was kind of just trying to feel out those two guys and trying to time my move based on them.
Was the plan in this just to wait and wait until you got to that very, very familiar final straightaway?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that specific. It was pretty much stay relaxed for as long as possible, and then when the time is right, make the move. And that's how it played out.
You've run 13:15 for 5,000. You've represented Australia at the Commonwealth Games internationally. Where does this NCAA title rank among your accomplishments?
This is the best. This is crazy. All the fans out here, I can't wait to go celebrate with them. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time, so this is definitely my proudest moment.
You mentioned that after you won Nutty Comb during the race, because you'd been off for so long, that you had a few doubts about whether or not you'd have it. In this race today, over 10,000, with the footing being what it was and the weather, did doubts ever creep in for you?
They did before the race. Earlier in the week, I would say I was pretty nervous because the season had a couple of ups and downs. I got sick midway through for about 10 days, so I wasn't sure how that would affect me, but these last couple of days, I think the nerves really just turned into excitement and confidence. Having my team around me was just, it just really helped. So by the time we got to the start line, it was just all about enjoying the experience, and I felt good.
Your coach, McBurn, has been around for a while, but you're his first ever individual champion. How does that feel?
It's amazing. I mean, he's obviously a great coach, so he deserves it. Surprised he didn't have one already, to be honest, but to be that first one to do it for him, because he's done so much for me, it feels very special.
Congrats, Morgan, on a great run, a great season, guys. Back to you.
Awesome finish there by Morgan McDonald, the senior. And man, I gotta ask you, Mo. You know, that crowd was so loud. We're here at the finish line. You're hearing him talk about what that meant for Wisconsin, for Coach McBurn. What's going through your mind? There's got to be a lot of personal feelings there.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy for Morgan and Mick, and I have like a personal relationship with Morgan. He was one of the, as I was leaving the program, he was one of the last guys that I hosted and recruited, helped recruit, and try to sell him on Wisconsin. So for him to deliver a national title right here in front of a home crowd, he's such a nice guy, and I'm happy for him and proud Badger alum. So yeah.
Great moment for him.
Yeah.
Abby, one question for you. He talked about some sickness and battling adversity to get to this point throughout a long season. How tough is that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about that. I think it just goes to show that sometimes a little bit of adversity is what you need to really spark, rekindle your motivation and help you remember why you're doing it. And clearly that's exactly what it did in his case. So it's really special to see it all come together at the right time.
And he's not the only one it came together for. We're down again at the finish line with Kevin and the unofficial team champs, the NAU team, third in a row.
NAU, three-peat, very emotional NAU. Tyler, can you explain how the team's feeling right now?
Currently, afterwards, I felt like crap. But then afterwards, having everyone there together, we actually just huddled up and took a, you're on my spike. We just kind of took a moment of silence, put our heads together, and just kind of like meditated for a little bit. And so I'm feeling really good now.
When you woke up this morning and saw the snow, what did you think?
Even playing field. Everyone has to deal with the snow too.
Luis, coming back again after a good freshman campaign. You're right up there. How did it feel? Walk me through that race, the last half.
Yeah, last half I was falling off from the top pack, and I just knew like I had to maintain my position and not let anyone pass me, just because I wasn't doing it for myself, but I was doing it for my brothers, and yeah, I just couldn't do it without them. So sorry, super emotional out there. We've been working hard all year, and knowing that's Matt's last year and Tyler and Pete's last year is probably the best moment of my life.
Matt, I'll give you a second, Matt. Let's go over here to Peter. Eighth last year, surprise. This year you're surprising nobody based on how well you're running. How does it feel to go back-to-back, win another one, and put 3 on the board for NAU?
This was the hardest one, to be honest. One of the hardest. The first, I don't know. It's like, I think it's really hard. Like you can tell, like back to back 3 times. It's like mentally it's the hardest thing ever. So I'm so happy for these guys to be able to pull this off, and this goes down in history, and like we did it.
Yeah, Flagstaff. Matt, where'd Matt go? Matt, can we get you for a sec? Oh, is this your dad? Oh, okay.
Robert Baxter made the trip out from New Zealand, so this was a very special day to share with my dad and with these boys.
How'd you feel out there? Obviously wasn't the individual race, but when you started to fall off, what kept you going? What kept you from dropping? I mean, horrible conditions out here, very tough.
Yeah, so one of it was I talked a lot of crap beforehand, so I kind of had to stay in with it because of that. I was thinking about the team the whole time. I knew it was a hard day out there. I was hurting from pretty early on, but I had to stick with it. I had to try and get every single point for that team, so that was what was in my mind the whole time.
Did you have any doubts about the team at that point?
I think I was still pretty confident. I think I heard Coach Hines, when we're coming into about a K to go, he gave me a nod that we had at least a bit of a lead at that stage. So I knew there was still going to be a good chance that our team was in it. But at that point, also I had to think that I was hurting, so I just had to focus on every spot at that point.
And how's it feel? How's your dad watched many of your races in college?
Yeah, so he would watch it on Flow Track. Definitely, we had an account, so even from the other side of the world, what you guys do, I got to say, I really appreciate Flow Track and being able to stream these events, especially in New Zealand, because I mean this is the first time my dad's been able to make it out to watch me run, and for my last race, that's really special. But he's also at the same time been able to follow my progress from the other side of the world. So I really appreciate what you guys do and helping make that part possible.
So 3 in a row, NAU. Oh, let's get Coach Smith over here. Before we do that here, Louis, you're coming back next year, so some of these guys are graduating, you're coming back. What's in store for NAU in 2019?
I mean, we got a young recruiting class that's coming up. We redshirted Brody, so 4-minute miler, and to tell you how good of this team was, we didn't even need the top high school in the nation, the top guy in the high school in the nation. We didn't even out here, and we got a lot of good young guys, and we're ready and we're fired up to come out here next year. Yeah,
very good.
By the way, before so in our tent we have a bunch of heaters in our tent area, and I was too close to one. My legs were too close to one, and I caught on fire from my pants. So I had to run out to the snow and just wipe it off clean.
So that's why you're feeling better now. All right, we'll try to get Coach Smith here. in a second for a live interview. Coach Smith, three-peat for NAU. You talked in the press conference about the idea of the disease of more and Pat Riley, and I'm guessing that's something that doesn't just affect athletes but also coaching staff as well,
for sure.
wanting more. How is this group able to pull it off and be the best of the three that you've had?
Yeah, they're phenomenal athletes. Their minds are just so tuned into what this takes, and they don't get distracted on the wrong things. And I mean, we got guys that, a lot of people talk, could they win individual titles? I've never heard that all season long. It's only about team points. We had some guys that, probably could have finished higher on another scenario and only ran for team points. The only way we see this is as a team race, and you can train legs. The brains are a whole other thing, though. You can just that's the secret to all this.
When Matt fell off, were those nervous moments for you?
I would probably be nervous for other athletes besides Matt. It's I just said to my staff as that was happening, I said, they said, "Are you worried?" And I said, "I'd be worried if it was anyone else besides Matt Baxter." And he's coached a lot of people. There's very few like him, and he could fall off like that and completely manage the situation. I knew he would, and that's exactly what he did.
We talked a lot in the pre-race about what NAU's strategy was. Matt said we might have something different. So I'm just curious, it was hard to decipher the plan for anybody today because of the weather. What was your guys' tactic coming in?
Yeah, so we implement strategies that are just to maximize points. It's better for certain style of racing for certain guys. It's better for them to keep it aggressive. We saw a lot of tactical races at the conference meet. We saw tactical races at the regional meet. We did a lot of practicing about forcing and riding that line. They're not when they reach the sort of that red line in the middle of a race. They don't panic at all. We do a lot of practice on that, and so Matt and Tyler knew to stay on it. And the way we trained, we knew if we had a lead at halfway, we were going to be tough to deal with in the second half. They're not going to fall off a cliff, so that's what they did.
BYU, Portland, we're kind of making that move on the second part, but it just seems like your group's impenetrable. There was no way that they were going to fall out of the top 30. Did you see it the same way?
Yeah, a couple of these guys we made eye contact at different points in the race, and you work with them every day, so you read faces. And 2K to go, Pete Lamong just gave me this big grin. Blaze looked at me and looked like he started to laugh. And that's it. I think if you could be calm in this heightened atmosphere, you can access your fitness. And so many people, that's, man, I wish I could go back to my college running career and know that, because it's that's really what gets in the way of a lot of people doing this. It's just panic. So we train them to be calm under pressure, and I give it to BYU and Portland. Those guys were on the move, and I think at one point we had maybe a 70-point lead. It was down to 50, so they're moving up well. And I know people hype up this rivalry with BYU. They are. We owe them a lot because they hold us accountable every day, and it's a phenomenal program, phenomenal athletes, and they another example of pushing us to the very limits today. There's no way these guys would perform as they do without BYU.
One more, and then I'll let you celebrate with your team. Usually championship teams, you expect that euphoria, but when they came over initially, you saw a lot of tears. Why do you think it was so emotional, bringing tears to their eyes this year?
I love you, man.
I just got lifted up by a 90-pound man. So I'm gonna try to talk about this without tears. To coach, I mean, anyone who coaches doesn't have to be NAU. Anyone who coaches, the privileges that you're on the inside of their day in and day out. I just know what some of these guys are working with and what they're going through and what they've overcome. A guy like Blaze Farrow, he spent at least 50% of the last 3 years hurt, and so he started to have success this year. He comes in the office, he's like, it was scaring him. He's so afraid something's going to happen. And if you run like that, if you run with that fear of risk, it's going to be a barrier. And so the vulnerability that takes of, hey, at any moment something could change, and you're going to risk it, and the trust involved in that is just massive. And so when his tears, I think it's just acknowledging what he's overcome there. And Matt Baxter's, this is his last race for NAU, and I think he's been a phenomenal leader for this team, and I think he's got his dad over here from New Zealand, and I think probably that was overcome there with some emotion. And a lot of these guys, we really hold it together all year long. I mean, if you follow us around, there's not a whole lot of rah-rah. It's pretty quiet, and so I think this finally just lets it out.
Coach, congrats. First three-peat since 2000. You guys are in the history books.
Thank you.
Best of luck in
Thank you
track,
so much,
and then going for 4 next year.
Yeah, we'll see. That's right. Yeah, we'll be the best team we can be. Thank you.
Gordon, Ryan, guys, back to you.
Wow, an emotional day for a number of people, especially for BYU. And guys, it was very different. You know, we saw the Colorado women win, and there was a ton of excitement. And the NAU guys defend their title, three-peat, and there was a lot of emotion in a different way. Some tears, I'm sure, of joy and excitement, but just can you talk about just how different those emotions can be when you come through a big moment like that?
It's big. It's really big. I mean, I think you saw Coach Smith, in tears, and he's a grown man, and it just speaks to like how much that meant to them, and obviously, the task of trying to get a three-peat. There's a lot of pressure, and the media hypes it up, and you try to keep it as tame as possible, but it gets to the mind, and I remember when we won it in 2011, Mick just in tears, and same familiar sight, same emotions, and that was beautiful to watch. That was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and I think too that everything could go right, throughout the season, and then you have to come together on the day. So it feels like such a gift when you know how fragile it is, and then you come and you show up and everyone fights for each other, and then it does actually happen. It really just is, in a word, overwhelming.
One aspect that some of these teams talk about, they say it's all about the team. Mo, I got to imagine you are a guy with individual aspirations, but trying to win that team title, you have to put that. Do you have to put it aside like some people describe, or when you went into it? Was it always team first, and how hard is that?
Yeah, for us, it was a team first. Honestly, Mick didn't even tell me that he was going to send me out with the front guys until a minute before the race, and it actually paid to be the deciding factor of why we won. Oklahoma State didn't capitalize on sending one out front with me, and yeah, so for me, I really, even when he said go out there, chase the title, I had to think about my teammates, and a lot of the times when it got really tough, I was thinking about my teammates, and I was like, you better get as many points and pass as many people as you can, and the team means the most. Individual, you can that's something that you can be proud of yourself, but when you have 6, 7, 9, 10 people back home, that share that, it's a big deal, and the reunions that these guys are gonna have over when they're old and gray, it's gonna be incredible. So they're gonna talk about it.
Definitely a special day. We talked all morning about what was going to happen, and we saw it all unfold here. Danny Jones and the Colorado women, NAU, and Morgan McDonald for Wisconsin individually. So awesome competition. Don't forget, right now going on is the Division III Men's National Championship in Oshkosh. So if you want to see some more cross country, you can flip over to that. Also upcoming, you can see what we have in a couple weeks' time with the D2, NCAA D2 National Championships, the European Cross Country Championships, and then the indoor season kicking off very quickly. We'll be at Boston University a number of times, also on the East Coast and then West Coast out at University of Washington, and then a number of the conference championships with the MPSF, the Big 10, Big 12, Mountain West, and the MEAC. So, man, I don't want cross country to end though. I'm talking about indoor.
I know,
so,
not yet. Let's enjoy the day.
Exciting day today, and we do want to give a shout out over in Oshkosh, the women's D3 championship. Washington U upsets Johns Hopkins, the alma mater of Gordon.
Yeah.
Gordon, how you feeling by 1 point?
They took down that dynasty by
Wow.
1 point.
Wow.
So that men's race is going on as we speak. But wow, Hopkins though still a strong team, but when get beat by Wash U by 1 point, it's That's harsh.
So you'll see you see the awards stand there. We'll award some team and individual trophies, top 40 All-American individuals on both the men's and women's sides, and then those podium team spots for the men and women, where we'll see that race we just saw with the men. Northern Arizona first, BYU, great second half of that race to move into second. Portland on the podium once again in third, and then Colorado, 3 runners in the top 11. Unbelievable top 3 right there. That finished 4th. So, guys, any closing thoughts on what we saw today? Anything you're going to take away from this one?
I mean, the weather actually played a factor. I mean, Colorado, individual title on the women's side, a team title on the women's side, and a top 4 finish. We didn't expect that from the men, and exciting races. It was a great day. It was a great day, and
I think it's just inspirational and just affirming to see how powerful it is to run with a motivation that's so much bigger than you. You know, you could see that in the emotion of both the individuals and, I mean, even if you're here as an individual, you know that there's so many people behind you in spirit who have led you to this moment. And I think that was in the minds and hearts of everyone out here today. So it's just really cool to see that freshly. And, I'm personally motivated to go out and do that and remember those people behind me.
We're going to get after that course right now. There's still a lot of fans out there.
Why not?
yeah, absolutely.
Gordon, for you, you've followed this all season. You've been at all the events with every team here. You've been actually with a lot of these teams. Anything that you take away from today as a surprise or a special moment in your eyes?
I think it's just expecting the unexpected. NAU won in the way that we did not see happen. They almost lost it at the end. Normally they're pulling away at the end. And seeing Colorado's Danny Jones, we forgot about her because, she redshirts the outdoor season, so she's not on the outdoor track circuit as much. But, man, that kick is nasty, and I can't wait to see what she does this upcoming track season. It's going to be fun to watch Danny Jones and the Colorado women.
So three new champions crowned today, and NAU the repeat. So we really appreciate everyone that tuned in to watch. Thanks to Kevin Sully out there interviewing our team and individual champions. Great interview there with the NAU crew. Mo, Abby, awesome to have you guys on board this year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys again. And Gordon, we'll see you all through the indoor season. So so no goodbyes. We'll just see you later. So we'll send it to the awards in just a little bit, but for now we'll take a break and be back with you. Thanks again tuning in here from Madison at the Thomas Zimmer Championship Cross Country Course.